All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Frantic Talks podcast, episode 63. I am your host, Frantic. With me, as always, is my lovely co-host,
Grunt.
and
Hello.
we are here to talk about gaming
And junk.
and junk. All right, so before we jump into today's episode, let's talk about where you guys can find us to continue the conversation, as always. So, first up, hit up us on Twitter. I am at FranticJ3, and he is at OnyxSpartan ONYX. Spartan, all one word. And at Frantic_Talks is where you can hit the official Frantic Talks Twitter account. Kind of just save characters, as we like to say, but then again, Twitter's kind of getting it to where that doesn't matter. Either way, that's the official account. Follow them. Follow us, I guess. That's where you'll see us tweet out about the going live on the podcast when we post different stuff, whether it's articles, videos, or other random nonsense. Just feel free to do that. Also, hit up at FreakShow187. He is our special podcast ghost who is going to be a little more involved with Frantic Talks. We'll get to that, don't worry. But hit him up, send him some good... It's a very, very good mystery unless you follow our blog, then you already know this, but we'll get to that.
Soon.
Send him puns. Send him puns. He likes puns, and he'll probably send you something back, assuming he can make a pun out of whatever you've sent him, if it isn't already a pun. Or he'll one-up your puns. Puns is the only way to put that.
Puns.
Yes. Also, you can head over to twitch.tv/Frantic Talks, all one word, where we go live every Saturday, usually at 3 p.m. Eastern, usually. And the usually is just because sometimes we go later, sometimes we aren't going to be there at all. Just kind of depends. Helps if you follow Frantic Talks either on Facebook or on Twitter. That's where you can find out if we're going to be going live or not, if something got canceled, whatever. Also, if you want to see the video version of this podcast, maybe you can't catch it live. It's quite all right. I know Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, some people could be busy. You can head over to youtube.com, search up Frantic Talks. Will be one of the first things that pops up. Click the subscribe button. Once we hit 100 subscribers, we can give you guys an official URL to share with your buddies. You can also just share the page. Works that way too. But if you subscribe there, the good news is you will get a couple of things. First, you'll get a Sunday show that normally comes out if my computer doesn't crap out on me. And you'll also get this podcast right after we go live Saturdays, around 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern. It goes up on the YouTube channel, which is about 2 days before you would get it audio only, which is on Mondays. Also, head over to Facebook.com, kind of already mentioned it, /Frantic Talks, all one word. Like us there. You'll get more or less same updates on Twitter, but in a more Facebook form. And finally, if all else fails, head to FranticTalks.com, where you will find all this information in the footer of the website, along with all the podcast information in every podcast post, along with the articles we like to post, and also magic.frantictalks.com is not only linked there, but also able to be typed into your URL bar. That is where you can find all our awesome Magic the Gathering stuff that we have written. It's quite a lot of stuff there. It's really fun. And if all else fails beyond that, Grunt, what could you always do?
You can always search just Frantic Talks in your favorite neighborhood search engine.
And you will find us, guaranteed.
10 times out of 10, you will find us.
Yes, so we got a fun episode today. Nothing really stands out in terms of me yelling at people like I did last week, or going on tirades. Don't remind me. Nothing really standing out. We'll have a
problem. He was the problem behind your computer giving out on you last weekend for the Sunday show.
Yeah, briefly, the Sunday show, we talk about, I usually talk about music and stuff. I had an episode planned, I recorded it, and about halfway through of the recording, my OBS essentially crapped out on me, and the video froze for about 2 or 3 minutes of it while I was still talking. And I didn't realize it until I was halfway through the editing process, and was like, I've already spent 2 hours on this, I give up, and just kind of rage quit. Damn, fucking Steven Totillo hacking into my computer. If you don't understand that reference, you really need to go watch or listen to the last episode. Towards the end, the great editor-in-chief at Kotaku wrote a wonderful article that I definitely agree with, but not in the way you would think.
you agreed with it like 2 years ago.
And that's the problem. Hence the name Late to the Party. It's a great episode. I have to go back and listen through every podcast, make sure all sounds good, and it was pretty funny. All right. So go check that out if you get the chance. It's a good episode. One of our best episodes so far, I think. And the episode before, it's really good. A lot of our recent episodes where we've just gone on tirades have been great, so. But I'm beginning to ramble. Wow, I didn't think we were going to get to that far in this episode.
I mean, hey, first 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay. Well, what do we do in the first 5 minutes? We talk about our week. Grunt, how was your week?
Pretty uneventful. I spent a lot of it playing Dishonored 2. So I'm about a third of the way, maybe nearing the halfway point of getting through it. So
Okay.
you have some some catching up to do. I have an unfair advantage, though, because I can literally sit there and do that all day if I want.
That's a good point.
Even though I could do that and still only make it through one level, because I'm super cautious to not get spotted, because I want that low chaos ending. Let's see, on Sunday, though, I split a box of magic cards from the new Amonkhet set with Grunt Dad, and got some pretty cool stuff out of it. I got the new God Oketra from it.
Nice.
Let's see, I got the new Gideon Planeswalker too, so that's pretty cool.
He's an interesting one.
Yes, I don't remember what he does, and I don't want to sort through the piles of cards sitting just off camera here.
I could tell you, I know one of his abilities makes it to where you can't lose if you control a Gideon Planeswalker, but other than that, I don't remember everything else he does.
Yes.
Well, he turns into a 4/4 creature or something like that. I know that, because that's what Gideon does. He turns into an indestructible creature.
Of course, why not? So, I thought, I've had the idea the past week of trying to figure out maybe build some weird, let's see, what would it be? Modern, probably standard, legal set or deck from it, just to play around with.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I haven't figured out what I want to do with it yet.
It'd be standard if you're using only Amonkhet cards.
It would be, yes, most likely. Well, I don't know what is legal anymore. I used to, but they change it so frequently, especially in Modern. It's like, okay.
That's I could go on rants for hours on that. We don't want that, do we?
No. Well, I mean, maybe one day.
Maybe one day. Let us know, guys. If you want to hear me rant about Magic, I could revive the Frantic Works podcast, just be me yelling around about random shit.
So much like last week in Steven Totillo, only with a Magic setting, right?
Yeah. That could happen.
I say go for it.
I mean, that'd be a lot of fun, and I do have a Pixel now, so that would actually probably make the recording quality a little better, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, there you go. Just give it a shot. That's all I can do. Also called around frantically to my local card or tabletop gaming stores, hobby stores, basically, trying to find the rule book for the game Dread. I mentioned it, was it last week, a couple of weeks ago?
I think it was last week.
If you didn't listen to it or didn't catch it, Dread is basically a horror-themed RPG with your dice rolls being replaced by pulling a block from a Jenga tower. If the tower falls at any point of you pulling your block and putting it back on top, like you play Jenga, your character fails at their action and is usually removed from the game. Doesn't necessarily mean, killing your character off or anything like that, but that's generally how it goes. If you succeed at it by the tower not falling at any point, you're fine. You basically make a natural 20 when you would roll a dice, basically. It's fun. I'm looking forward to maybe hosting a game in the near future about that.
Sounds like it could be fun.
Yes. Also, the only other thing I did this week was ramble on my own personal blog about my recent enjoyment for said tabletop games.
That's a really good read. That is onyxspartan.wordpress.com, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't even know the URL to my own blog. That's sad. But I'm pretty sure that sounds about right. So.
Yeah. Either way, you can head to Twitter, and he's tweeted it out very recently. You can find the link there.
It's actually on the top pinned tweet, because that's a thing you can do.
There you go. Follow at Onyx Spartan, ONYX Spartan, all one word. You can click on his blog there and check out his ramblings about tabletop games, which ramblings is going to be the theme of this episode, I feel, especially with the main topic we have at hand.
It is, but good ramblings.
Good ramblings, not flame wars. Continue.
Right. But to wrap that story up and essentially how my week went, I had to buy the PDF version of it. And quick shout out to Grunt Mom and Grunt Dad for printing it out and spending several hours sleeving the sheets because I was lazy and didn't want to.
I heard the real MVPs apparently. Jesus Christ.
They really are. They really are. So.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. I don't want to sleeve these. It's only 600 pages.
100 actually.
That's still. I don't hand my EDH deck to my girlfriend and say, sleeve my deck up for me. I'm bored or I'm too lazy.
Well, okay, so it wasn't the fact I was lazy. I was in the process of playing like a strike or something. I think it was Crucible the other night with Freak Show, and I came out one that night, and there was just half of them done already. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not needed here.
Oh, so they so they took the initiative to do it. You didn't just say do this. Okay.
Yes, but
Because you made it sound like you were just like, yeah. Because you made it sound like it was just, hey, do this.
I don't want to do this.
I really don't.
I mean, I would have done whatever was left, but But yes, moral of the story: they're the real MVPs.
Absolutely.
And it's a fun game. I would encourage you to try it or any tabletop game in general, even if you're not sure. Even hosting a game, maybe be a DM of a game. So,
how expensive is the base set?
For Dread, it was a $12 PDF download from, I think I bought it from, drivethrurpg.com.
Okay. And can you use any, like, just your own Jenga blocks, or is there like
you can use just any old Jenga tower. I bought a Jenga tower from Toys R Us last weekend.
So the startup cost for this is actually really cheap.
Really cheap. It's a lot cheaper than our number one, well, maybe not number one, but one of our top hobbies of video games. So you probably have about $20 between the PDF for Dread and the Jenga tower.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
That to a $60 game or more, depending on which edition you get. So yeah.
Compare that to a $900 Magic deck, or
even that, or a $15,000 deck that I apparently could play because I have 2 cards that would go great in it.
yeah. You're on the way.
15,000, like God. So yeah, and that's one thing I do like about the tabletop gaming is it's more cost effective. I mean, a set of dice, $5 depending on where you buy them from. Some nicer sets maybe a little more, $10, $12.
Yeah.
So, and for a lot of the stuff, the only extra thing you need is like a player handbook or something that explains what to do.
Mm.
And if you're going to like the house of someone or an event, someone's hosting, whatever, a lot of times the host of the game has that stuff easily available for the players already.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And then just, like pencil and paper, piece of paper or a notebook or something. So it's very easy to get into it. And I think that's probably one of the big reasons that I'm just now getting into it is it's like super cost effective compared to all the hundreds of dollars we've wrapped up in games over these years. So
the system alone to start up playing is $400, and the games are
$60 each.
If you don't like the one game that came with the system,
Yeah. And then you have to have subscription services to play online.
Right.
It offers it, so
it adds up really quick.
Yep. Also looks like my webcam froze. Oh, there we go.
I didn't get any freezing on my end. That was weird.
It did on my end. Anyways, that's how my week has been, though. Nerding out over games and other things.
Nice.
Pretty much. How was yours?
Well, interesting. It was a very busy week at work, but I'm not going to talk about that, of course. Let's see. So the first thing I will say is Grunt started playing Dishonored, and I thought, crap, I should probably get the ball rolling on that. And I decided to finally pick up Dishonored 2, and then installed it, which was right before the podcast last week. I think I mentioned that. If not, I'm mentioning it now. Okay.
Because I poked fun at you for getting the first half of your journey done.
Yeah.
Installed.
So it got installed, updated, and everything, and then I don't remember what day of this week I did end up picking it up and playing about an hour of it. But I got through the first mission, and then the mission where you get the super abilities, like the magical abilities.
Right.
And I like that you were given the option to decline them if you wanted to essentially put your own difficulty spike on it or challenge on it, to where you're like, no, I'm just going to use a knife and a gun. I don't want to be able to like make magic. But I just I want to get the full experience. I'll do the magic this time, and if I really like it, I'll go back and go do it again, which, as of all I've played so far, I'm enjoying the game. I am not good at stealth. Holy crap, I'm really bad at stealth.
And that's one thing I like about Dishonored 2 is they kind of opened it up to let you play however you want.
Yeah, so, that's true.
Obviously, you're going to have to be a little more stealthy if you want the low chaos ending, but if you don't really care about that, then just go and kill everything.
Yeah, and there's been a few times where I've been caught and just annihilated anything that got near me. I'm not playing on easy, I'm playing on normal just because I'm like, that's a good starting point considering it's been a while since I've played something that isn't a first person shooter
Right.
or Rocket League. So I was like, oh, I'll start there. And I remember when I was trying to get on the boat in the first mission, I was trying to climb over a wall to get a good look at the area, and then a guard was behind me and I didn't realize it. He was like, hey! And then everybody just corralled in this doorway at me, and I'm just sitting there one by one picking them off with my 10 shots in my pistol. It was really funny.
Yes, I remember something similar to that.
But then I figured out how to stealth through that section because I died briefly after killing most of them. But I figured out how to stealth through that section without getting caught. So that was kind of satisfactory, where I was like, man, I was really struggling. Oh, okay, I figured it out now.
That's how I do this. Ah.
Yeah, essentially. So I figured that out, and then, like I said, I got through the part where I got the abilities, and that's where I called it quits because I'd played for about an hour at that point, and it was getting late. So I liked it. I'm excited to keep going into it, and hopefully I don't play an hour a week and get done in like a year. Let's just hope that doesn't happen.
There's roughly about, I think, 9 or 10 missions. It's about the same length as the first one, so it'd only take about 10 weeks at most.
Right, but that's so to give you background real quick, if you aren't aren't a frequent listener or you just haven't listened far back enough into the podcast archive, I got Dishonored 2 in like December from GameFly or January, I don't remember. And Grunt, I don't remember when you got him.
I think it was around December because it was actually a Christmas gift for a family member, and I kind of stole it from them since I was ready to play it. So I mean,
right.
I have no recollection of stealing it.
I'm not admitting that.
No, I technically just did.
And we were kind of looking for a way to get ourselves to play something that isn't Destiny, or in my case, Rocket League, if it isn't Destiny. And we kind of put a bet out there that if anyone wanted to jump in at the time, who do you think will finish it first? We'll give you a $5 gift card. I don't remember if we specified where. But it is probably going to be like Amazon or Xbox, depending on preference. But we got a couple people jump in on that, and so far, the rule was I had to finish Dishonored 2 before Grunt finishes the first and second one, because Grunt has a little more time to play than I do, so it was like, seems a little unfair to just say who finishes the game first. So Grunt's finished the first Dishonored, and now we're on to the second one, and that's when I was like, oh crap, he's halfway done. I probably should get halfway done and install the game. So that's about where it stands. I've gotten an hour into it. I'm honestly hoping that sometime this week I can dig into a little more. Now that you tell me there's 10 missions, I don't feel too daunted. It's not like Skyrim level epicness where you spend 60 hours in the game and finally finish it, or The Witcher 3, something like that.
Still have to finish Skyrim. I don't even know how far I am into that game.
So yeah, that's where that stands. That was one part of my week. Other stuff that happened this week really was personal level stuff, and this blog post on screen announcement :changes about the Frantic Talks website, which we will talk about later. I would definitely recommend you read that after this podcast. It'll probably go into more detail or not. I'm not sure. We haven't gotten there yet to where we talk about it, but that plus development of the new Frantic Talks website, which I will also mention. I will not show. I refuse to show until we have it going to the point of where I'm ready to display it. But I'm looking to reformat everything and make it look a little better, because this is a little dated. This is from when we started the blog all the way back in 2013. So
back when it was just ye old Frantic.
Yes, and that entire history lesson is in the announcement and will probably be later on in this episode. But either way, that was a majority of my week. I want to say there was a couple other minor things, but for the most part, that's what I did. I had a couple people over and played some games the other night. Watched some people play games last night because I was a little too tired to play. I played some weird like Mario Party game that wasn't Mario Party, but when you're like buying cities and stuff in it, and it's like this Japanese game. I don't remember, it's like Dokuman, I think is what it was called. And
interesting name.
Yeah, I feel like I'd heard of it, and watching them play it was really funny because my friends they like anime, and this was very anime inspired because it's a Japanese game, so the art style goes that way. They kind of watch anime, and watching them react to some of the over-the-top anime stuff, and it was really funny. It's not that they made fun of it, it was just really funny, their reactions. I'm really bad about hitting my mic, but it was really funny, so I enjoyed that. And then I fell asleep because it was like 2 in the morning, but either way. That was basically my week in a nutshell. There's probably some other random thing that I've forgotten to mention, and we'll probably have an epiphany. Like I said, the Sunday show didn't happen last week. Might happen tomorrow if my computer actually doesn't crap out on me. We'll see what happens. But that about does it for that. So let's talk about some stuff that's happened or is happening here in the past week or so. First up, let's talk about our favorite game, Destiny. One of our favorite games, Destiny. The Bungie weekly update. Not much to note about in here besides, I think, a hotfix and this little thing called Iron Banner.
Oh, Iron Banner. I love Iron Banner.
Yes, Iron Banner comes back when, Grunt? Because I haven't looked at it yet. I know what it is.
It comes back this Tuesday, as a matter of fact. May 10th, right?
9th.
May 10th? 9th?
Yeah, I just pulled it up on screen.
Okay. It comes back May 9th. Totally ignore anything I said about the 10th.
I mean, it will be happening on the 10th, so, you know. But it comes back May 9th, 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, and you can do the math for your Central or Mountain time. Just add your hours. And
Math is hard.
Math is hard. And it ends reset the next Tuesday, which is 2 a.m. Pacific time, 5 a.m. Eastern, and, you know, whatever. And the game mode is Mayhem Clash. So
I
if
am
you...
so anxious for that.
I know. What's going to be really weird, though, is... aren't you gonna need to get like primary and kills and stuff? Like, who gets primary kills in Mayhem?
I sure don't.
Yeah. So
that is going to be the difficult thing. Unless they just maybe have a special bounty they have in store for us. I have no idea. Maybe we won't see that bounty that week. Who knows?
I would hope so.
I mean,
so if you aren't familiar with Mayhem,
it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it'll definitely be challenging because you'll be like underpowering yourself deliberately. But Mayhem, if you aren't familiar with it, essentially it's your abilities recharge like twice as fast, and your supercharges like ridiculously fast. So the first couple seconds of the game, you get a couple of kills, and next thing you know, everyone's throwing supers left and right for the rest of the game.
Yes.
This is essentially, yeah.
It's amazing.
It's a lot of fun. It's truly, the name Mayhem fits it perfectly because it's just chaos.
It's like when what was it? The playlist back in like Halo 3, probably even Halo 2, where it just had the random game types that did whatever.
Action sack.
Action sack. Thank you. Mm. It's like the action sack of Destiny.
Yeah.
Instead of
action
all
sack's
these various. Oh, it still is. Yes. Haven't played the Halo 5 version of it though, but this place haven't played Halo 5 in.
Is there an action sack game?
I think there is.
I feel like there should be with how much that Forge has been like expanded.
I think there is, because I think it was in a party a few weeks ago with someone that was playing it. Because they were talking about something. I guess they have golf in it or something similar to that. I don't know.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. But it's like the action sack of Destiny, where it's fun for a reason. You know, you get all the close, tough games in Clash, and even like Rift, Supremacy, and then you just go in there and play Mayhem, and it's like, man, this is so much fun.
It's like where I always like to say when I'm doing strikes and stuff, I'm on cruise control versus playing Mayhem. Just PvP where I have to focus. I feel like it's a good middle ground because you can kind of just
you get PvP, but yet still have your cruise control that you get from strikes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a good middle ground where you can just kind of have fun, because if you're trying in Mayhem, I feel like something's wrong. So Iron Banner will be happening, like we said, May 9th to the 16th. The loot is as follows, which at end of each game, you have a much higher chance of getting loot, like good loot, versus playing PvP. Normally, you get like one good drop every 3 or 4 games. I think at this point, you almost get it every other game. And the Clever Dragon Pulse Rifle will be one of the things you can get at the end of the game, along with the machine gun, which is the Laughing Heart. Is that right?
The Silver Dread. Laughing Heart is the sniper rifle.
I almost had it. I know most of the names.
Close.
But yeah.
Close.
The Titan Armor, you will be able to get the chest piece, which looks really cool, or the boots, which is more or less. You can get the Hunter chest piece, which I'm actually very excited about because I really like the Hunter chest piece. If I'm not mistaken, this is the one that has the wolf pelt. Well, not on it, but I thought it had it somewhere. It looks really cool regardless. And then also the boots for the Hunter, so it's chest and boot pieces for all classes, of course. And then here on screen is now the Warlock chest and boots. So those will be what you can get this week. Not this week, during this Iron Banner. And they will drop at max light level, so if you're at 400, you can get these all at 400. So, seems sweet.
All rewards in, well, pretty much the game in general, drop around your light level, but especially in end game content like that stuff. So if you need a little extra boost to bump yourself up to 400, Iron Banner is a shot.
Yes, it is. And I got 2 guys at 400. The only one who isn't is my Titan, only because I hopped on my Warlock and was like, I need to finish out its Nova Bomb category. Because I still haven't done
Warlock for
that.
life.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked at the hours played that I have like 50 hours on my Warlock and then like 200 on my Titan and Hunter or something stupid like that.
Lord.
I don't think it's that bad, but
Quit neglecting that Warlock.
the Warlock is severely neglected for me.
Man.
Either way,
Let's
so
have
that's
a moment of
happening.
silence for that Warlock.
Yeah, moment of silence, please. Everyone, stop talking.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. All right, moving on here, we have another interesting story. The Nintendo 2DS XL. If you haven't heard about this, I think we mentioned it last week because we were talking about the supply system of the Switch and how we think Nintendo has this whole conspiracy. And by we, I mean me.
I remember that. They delayed the Switch.
Apparently. But this $150 system is a 3DS XL without the 3DS. Without the 3D, basically. So at $150, I feel like it's a good price point. And I just wanted to mention this because if you haven't picked it up and have, a 3DS or you don't have a 3DS that you want, or you don't have a new Nintendo 3DS, it seems like a good price point to pick up this because it plays the new 3DS games along with all your 3DS games, and it's apparently a really good system. I don't know. That's just what the article said. Just wanted to mention it briefly because I feel like I might pick it up. Because I was looking at getting a new 3DS, and I was like, I don't want to pay all that money for it. And this is cheaper and smarter. Because no one wants 3D.
No one wants
3D.
3D.
I don't know anyone who uses the 3D feature besides to make their head hurt for a second and remind themselves why they don't use the 3D feature.
I don't even know how the 3D feature works on a 3DS. Mainly because I haven't looked into it, but
it's really weird. You adjust this little slider, and then certain parts of the game are coded to be able to kind of look like they're in 3D, and it's all. I think it all has to do with the screen. So you normally have to wear 3D glasses. It removes that, and I think puts them kind of in the screen. I could be wrong there, but that's just how I think it works. So
interesting.
Yeah. So there's that.
I mean, it's a lot better explanation than what I had before, which was literally nothing. So.
Yeah, and if anybody knows better than I do, please let us know. Like I said, I'm just kind of I don't know. Yeah, basically. Okay, last little bit of information here. The interesting news stories. Like I said, we don't have anything this week to kind of go on rants about, but that's okay because we're going to talk about Frantic Talks here in a minute, just the future. But we'll get to that. So, if you didn't hear about this, the Super Nintendo PlayStation, which sounds like something. Just a bunch of words were thrown together. The prototype was repaired and capable of playing games by Ben Heck. He's a hardware hacker.
Yes.
Heck yeah. So, background. Which, honestly, the fact that this was restored is the least interesting bit to me because the background of this system is even better than that. And if you aren't familiar with the story, let me fill you in. So, Super Nintendo PlayStation. Big rivals, right? If you look back at the 90s, the Nintendo 64 versus the PlayStation was the big console war of the time. Sega Genesis was in the background hanging out. Oh, not the Sega Genesis, just the Sega Dreamcast was hanging out in the background. And then we eventually got to the modern times of Xbox versus PlayStation, with Nintendo kind of doing their own thing. That's a brief synopsis of everything that happened. In the 90s, though, before the PlayStation existed, it was more or less Sega versus Nintendo, with the Sega Genesis, like I mentioned, and the Super Nintendo. Well, in order to try to push hardware limitations, Nintendo partnered with Sony to make a disk drive, and thus we got what is known as the Super Nintendo PlayStation, which is a Super Nintendo with a disc port and a cartridge holder, so they could, use the capability of CD-ROMs, which were an up-and-coming thing at the time. And if you're thinking, holy crap, that actually happened, you'd be right to think that, because it seems like Sony versus Nintendo was the classic story in the 90s. That's more or less the truth. So what the hell happened? Well, what happened is they announced this, and then literally the next day, Nintendo partnered with Philips and just kind of said, fuck you to Sony. Literally, they didn't tell them why. They never told them this was happening. Just the next day, literally the next day, they just were like, yeah, fuck off. And went and did their own thing with Philips. And so Sony got sour and was like, screw you guys, we're going to make the PlayStation. And they did.
Oh. And then boom, you have Nintendo, Sony PlayStation, and you have the console wars as they are now.
So if it wasn't for Nintendo being random dicks for whatever reason, just to up and leave Sony, we wouldn't have a PlayStation. We'd have some hybrid Super Nintendo PlayStation where Metal Gear Solid and Super Mario are on the same system, where Crash Bandicoot and The Last of Us are played with on the Nintendo Switch. Like, obviously that's not necessarily what would have happened per se, but just thinking about that, like, if this didn't happen, if the next day Nintendo just didn't go bipolar and leave, we wouldn't even have a PlayStation that we know of today. So it's one of those defining things in gaming history that's interesting to learn about.
Should we be thanking Nintendo for doing that then, for giving us the PlayStation, or should we be like saying, "Why did you do this? Why?"
That's the ultimate like question, isn't it? Because we can thank Nintendo for 1980s gaming because they saved gaming. And in North America, mainly in the United States, we had the Atari system, which valued quantity over quality, which led to the video game crash, which was when E.T. came out, was kind of like the nail in the coffin. Right. And you can learn about this through a lot of different stuff, like documentaries on Netflix or just YouTube videos. But when the Super Mario Brothers was released by Nintendo, that kind of like saved the day. Along with Legend of Zelda, Super Metroid, all of those like classic games that we know of today of the big names. The reason they're so big is because they were what saved video games. So Nintendo saved video games and also gave us the PlayStation. It's just really interesting to hear about that. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be entirely wrong about this, but I remember hearing about this. Bill Gates approached, I want to say Nintendo, but I could be wrong. He approached somebody about using Windows-based stuff for video games, and they were really just disagreeing with him about it, and he got so sour he went and made the Xbox. So we might even have...
Thank you, Nintendo, for doing that then, too.
If it was Nintendo, which I want to say it was, but I could be wrong, it might have been Sony. Actually, now that I say it, I think it was Sony. I think Sony is the reason we have an Xbox, because they were like, fuck you to Bill Gates.
Sony. Thank you, party whoever it may be.
So what we've learned here is the next big console that will come up will be some rejected console from Microsoft.
Yep.
Someone's going to go to Microsoft and be like, hey, we want to make this with your system's hardware. No. The spread. I don't even know what it would be called, and I will have a really hard time coming up with a name, but just that it's an interesting point in video gaming history. The 90s were crazy. So if you ever get a chance to go back and learn about the 90s of video games, not only the weird fucking video games and all the weird stuff that came out of the 90s, the history of it all was, a lot of it happened in the 90s. Right. So I would definitely go check that out.
A good book, and I have yet to finish it, that covers kind of like the early days, especially the little miniature battle that happened between Nintendo and Sega during those days. Is Console Wars by Blake J. Harris, I want to say. It's a book, but it's called Console Wars. It's a very interesting read. I have yet to finish it myself, and that's been a while. I should get back to that, but that's very good, interesting read to find out a little bit about what happened between those two companies back in the day just by themselves.
Yeah, it's definitely... because it was such an uncharted realm, no one knew what they were doing, whereas today there's a lot more research behind it. We got 30 years of video games to be able to say what works and doesn't.
Right.
Not to say new ground can't be tread, but there's a much more... I don't want to use the word template, but for lack of a better word, that's what I'll say. It's a much better template for what you need to do to be successful in the gaming industry. So,
right.
All that history is very interesting to me. That's why I enjoy stuff like Did You Know Gaming on YouTube, because I've learned a lot of this from there, and a lot of the background behind a lot of games is really interesting as well.
Especially Fallout.
Yeah, especially Fallout. I've been watching a lot of the like Easter egg and unused content videos from Did You Know Gaming about Fallout, and I really want to play the first two, especially Fallout 2, because apparently that one was like the best, and is still regarded as one of the best RPGs of all time. So I really want to try it. All right, so
before we move on
to
our main topic, this is something that I just remembered halfway through our recent discussion. The 2017 let's try that again. The 2017 World Video Game Hall of Fame inductees were announced just this past week.
Man, I did forget about that. Yes, they were. Yes. And who is on there?
The new inductees to the Video Game Hall of Fame are Donkey Kong, Halo Combat Evolved, Pokemon Red and Green, and Street Fighter 2.
Sweet. All genre defining. Of course,
Yes.
naturally. You would expect.
Yes.
Awesome.
So
Well,
that's
cool.
pretty cool. Little tidbit of information there, since we're talking
Let's
about
see.
game history too.
I played all but Street Fighter 2. I might have even played Street Fighter 2.
Only one I've actually played was Halo Combat Evolved, because I mean Xbox was my first really system that I truly gamed on. I had a Genesis and like a Game Boy Color and Advanced at one point. But when I got my Xbox, it was like, that's it from here on out.
Yeah, let's see. I played Combat Evolved. I played Donkey Kong. So when I was younger, I had to get braces, and this orthodontist place I went to had arcade machines that were on free play, and Donkey Kong was one of them. So I got to play the original Donkey Kong a bunch. And I've also played some of the Donkey Kong Country games on the SNES and everything. And what was it? Oh, Red and Green. Of course, I played. Well, I haven't played the Japanese versions naturally, but Red and Blue I've played so goddamn much.
Right.
And a lot of the Pokemon games. So cool. I'm glad to hear that.
I knew you'd appreciate that those two Pokemon games got in there. So
yeah, it almost seemed like inevitable, just like Legend of Zelda being put in. Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah, but Legend of Zelda just got put in last year. It took them like a year or two to get it in there. It's like, man, I thought that'd be one of the first inductees, but
right. Well, either
that's
way,
a tangent for a whole nother day.
yeah.
Or
So
maybe something about one of our. Continue.
oh yeah, maybe let's talk about that, because I keep having like my thoughts in my mind. So as we're going along, like, oh, that could make a great thing. So this thing
Let's
we're talking
talk about that thing.
the changes. So we're gonna walk you through
This thing.
this blog post here that I've posted that kind of gives you a quick background of what Frantic Talks really is, besides being a blog and podcast. This started back in 2013. I just gotten a job as a developer at this company, and I was like, oh wow, I can make my own website. So I made a blog to kind of just ramble on, because I was doing it on Facebook, and it was like cool and all, but Facebook always shortened it, and it would go away real quick, and you'd really have to search for it. So I was like, this seems like a good place to kind of go on ramblings, and it ended up being more just music, movies, and video games, because those are the things I really enjoy. And eventually I recruited Grunt, and we started talking more and more about video games, and in the post I kind of talk about, this is the big shift. There were a couple of shifts in our history, from music, movies, and gaming to more gaming, less of the other two, to none of the other two, to a podcast. And that's kind of where it all ends, is the podcast. We've been doing this for now 63 episodes. I imagine we'll be going for a lot longer after this. And we're going to do another shift here. Like I said previously, I'm working on reworking how the website looks, and I think you guys are going to like what it ends up looking like. But on a one-off conversation with Freak Show in our group chat, me, Grunt, Freak Show, and I kind of came to the conclusion that we could actually have a lot of fun with something else. So we're going to get Freak Show involved in the writing on the website, so that way he's not just a special podcast ghost. And we kind of ran off the idea, he's doing a wrestling simulation company right now, or this wrestling company simulator, and it was like, oh, we could do like the Chronicles of Awe, because it's the AWE. What does that even stand for? I already forgot.
I don't remember.
It's something wrestling entertainment. I just don't remember what the A is. So, okay.
Awesome Wrestling Entertainment. Let's just go with that. That's what it is now.
Pretty much. And I need to make a logo for it. But we were like, oh, dude, you could do like highlights of your week in it or whatever. Every now and then post about some of the cool stuff that's happened. For instance, not in this one, but in an older one, he had The Rock as one of the characters, and he kept getting hooked on steroids and getting in trouble. So it could prove for a shorter but really fun article that people could read through and follow along his game. And that had me getting on ideas of, oh, we could kind of chronicle some of the stuff we do day to day. And then we came up with this idea that we would do a weekly column where we're just kind of more or less what we do at the beginning of this podcast, but it's a little different than that. So how it's going to work is 1 week will be dedicated to one person. So I honestly think I'm going to take this upcoming week, I'm going to be posting a post, and I already know what I'm going to talk about. It's actually going to be it's going to be related to the movie I just saw, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Great movie, by the way, would recommend. It's going to be related to that, but to give you an idea of what I'm trying to say here, we're going to post a column talking about our past 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever, because we're not going to post every week. It's going to be, I'm the first week, Grunt's the second week, Freak Show's the third week, and then we start back over. So, I'll have 2 weeks off to kind of gather up what I want to write about next. Gives me plenty of time to think about it while the other guys are coming up with whatever they're writing about. So what it will be is just whatever. Like it could focus fully on video games, or we could focus on whatever has been affecting us that week. Like, for instance, I just had this idea of, I could write about, comic book movies. So I'll probably do a quick ramble about that.
By the way, today is Free Comic Book Day.
Also, yeah, today's Free Comic Book Day, if you did not know. Now, if you're hearing this Monday, sucks. But
sorry. Hope you got a free comic book on Saturday.
Yes, I hope you guys were able to take advantage of the free comic book stuff on Saturday, which was May the 6th. Is that today? Yeah.
May the 6th.
It's always... Yeah. It's always the first Saturday in every May. So if you didn't get a chance to do it this year, mark your calendars for next year.
I don't have a calendar.
So we're excited to do this because I think it'll be a lot of fun to kind of have you follow along what's been happening with us, not only through the podcast when we talk about what we did that week, but also in a more, what's the right word?
Casual?
Yeah, I'd say casual, but I was thinking more so focused. Like, we're going to be really focused on one specific thing, probably. And, of course, we're still going to try and do some other stuff, like bringing you videos of gameplay. Again, if we see how well Freak Show's Chronicles of Awe goes, we might try to do that with some other games we're playing. Who knows? But overall, I thought of it as Grunt did this post about tabletop gaming, and it seems like we could benefit from kind of being more personalized than we are. Currently, the podcast is about as personal as it gets, and that ends up being, here's what we did this week, and here's us rambling about stuff. Versus an article that we post is kind of just like, here's our opinion on something that could be seen as controversial at most. So I think this will get it to be a little more casual, a little more close to us as a gaming community. And I think community is the best word to use here, because I've always thought of Frantic Talks as in the beginning, it was just a soapbox. But now I think it's evolved to just be us playing games together, having conversations about games, and ultimately having fun. I have fun doing this podcast. I'm very certain Grunt has fun doing this podcast.
Oh, definitely.
And I mean, if we didn't have fun doing it, we wouldn't be on episode 63, let's put it that way. So
that's true.
I think this is another fun way for us to get you guys to have a little more personality to the site, along with updating the website, making it look a little better, and allowing for you guys to take a deeper dive into our minds besides just us rambling. So I think that'll be kind of cool, a lot of fun. And without further ado, are you ready to hear the names of these columns? Because these are so stupid.
Yes, it's stupid. Wow, I take offense to that.
Really. And stupid in a good way. I use stupid almost always in a good way. So
yes, let's hear these names, these wonderful names.
So starting next week, I will be posting in my new weekly column, or tri-weekly column, called Frantic's Antics. Along with Grunt will follow me. I imagine he'll be the next week, and Grunt's Grumblings, because that's what he does. And
that's what I do.
Lastly, the tri-weekly Freakly, which is easily the best of the three for Freak Show. But oh dear God, is that an amazing name?
It is. It fits his personality quite well. So
yeah, we told you he liked puns, guys, and that's a pretty good pun. So these will be, like I said, once a week, and you get a week dedicated to one of them. So more than likely it'll be a rotating cast where it'll just be me, Grunt, Freak Show, me, Grunt, Freak Show, or if Grunt doesn't have something and Freak Show does, we'll rotate it or something like that. But more than likely that's how it's going to go. Along with our weekly podcast, you'll get, sounds like, at least 2 things from us each week. Magic, we're going to work on getting some more stuff out of that. We've been very busy with other random stuff. And hopefully
write something for that. Whoops.
That's okay. We'll get to it.
Eventually.
Ultimately, it looks like we're going to get you a lot more content, a lot more personality and personalization to it than it is currently now, where we just kind of, for lack of a better term, state things, I think is the way to look at it. And it's not necessarily that. I know we are definitely unique and talk about stuff in a more personal manner than probably like IGN or Polygon would. But I think it's definitely a good step in a good direction to head in. And like I say, the Sunday show will still exist. Hopefully gaming videos and Freak Show's wrestling simulator stuff are just the beginning. And hopefully we get some cooler stuff out to you guys.
Yes. I'm very excited to see the future of Frantic Talks, as you could say.
Yes, I'm excited for that as well. So hopefully you guys are excited, just as excited as we are. And I guess there is one other thing that we'll be doing, which is actually going to happen after this podcast specifically. When we aren't going live every Saturday, usually at 3 p.m. Eastern, what we've done in the past is we've just kind of left it empty. There's been no podcast, there's been no stream or anything like that.
We vanished for a week.
Yeah, we vanish for a week or sometimes two. In that, there's nothing wrong with that. If we're busy, we're busy. But what we're going to try to do and start doing is recording archived episodes where we'll just be like, welcome to the Frantic Talks podcast. Here's a top 10. And I mentioned this last week. So if you guys have any topics you'd want us to discuss that are not going to be dated, which are going to more than likely be top 10s and top 5s, shoot us a tweet. Let us know. We've gotten a few really funny requests that won't happen. Unless we want to talk about top 10 late to the party stuff, but we're going to be recording one after this to hopefully, and it'll be within the next month. You'll hear that episode, and then from there, it just kind of going to be playing it by ear, or look at our schedule and say we need to have one done by here or whatever. So send us your recommendations for what you guys want to hear in an episode, like top 10, or it's more likely going to be top 5. 10's a lot. So top 5. I don't know, changes in the future you'd like to see. That's a really lame one, but you get what I'm saying.
It doesn't even have to be a top 5 necessarily. Maybe there's something you want to hear us just talk about in general.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Maybe expand upon something that maybe we've talked about in the past, like why are things late to the party? What do we have?
Exactly.
All right, but that's the general idea. Maybe it doesn't have to be a top 5. Unless you can think of a really, really awesome top 5, then yes, it has to be a top 5.
Yes.
But anything maybe you want to hear about.
Yeah. There's a bird in your window.
There's a bunch of starlings out in the yard next door to us, which is outside my window, so yeah.
But yeah, I do like the idea of expanding on topics, or just like a quick question or two. Could even do like mailbag columns where we just get questions from people and answer them. That'd be really cool too.
I would love that.
So send us questions, topics, all that stuff. Like I said, community is the word, and I really want to strive for that more than we previously have. And I think we can extend that into Rubber Ducky Death Squad, because we already have a decent chunk of people in that. So, I mean,
we do.
It seems like that would be the best course of action. So anyways, guys, that's what's coming for Frantic Talks. I'm excited for it. It should be a lot of fun. We should get a lot of really cool stuff out of it. And honestly, it starts next week. So when you hear this podcast on Monday, if you listen the day it comes out, expect an article to be coming up in the next few days.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Very anxious to see what everyone has in store. Mm-hmm. I personally don't have any clue what I'm going to write about for my first column, which is probably bad to admit, but...
No, it's okay, because the idea is it's going to be us, our experiences from the past week or two, and just kind of throwing in our 2 cents on it, If it ends up just being, I played a little bit of Destiny, thought this was really cool, here's my 5 seconds of thought on that, it's okay. Like I said, I want this to be a more personal look into just kind of what we think about on a tri-weekly basis.
Right, and I think that's what's amazing about the titles that we all chose, is they really reflect the whole theory behind it. Your antics for that week. Freak shows, tri-weekly, freakly, whatever it is he does. I don't even know how to describe it.
I mean, it fits him because it's a pun, I think that's...
It fits him because it's a pun. That's probably the best way to describe it, yes.
And you like to say you grumble all the time on Twitter.
And I do. I do, it's true. If you just don't read any of my old tweets, I cringe at those even. But if you just go to my blog and see where I talk way too much about board games, like in my last post, or just anything on there, that's pretty much where my inspiration was for behind my name, at least my column name. Yeah. I grumble, like right now. I'm doing it now. I'm done.
I wanted to. It wouldn't have fit, but I want to say it here that Frantic's Antics is much better. But at the same time, Frantic Fails was one of my first YouTube series I ever did, because I always tried really dumb shit in video games and sucked at doing them. And this was really in Modern Warfare 3. When I was playing Modern Warfare 3 with friends, my my whole series was because I always tried to do really dumb shit, usually in Search and Destroy, when you get one shot and you die if you don't do it right. So it was something like trying to ninja defuse, or just hiding in a corner, going prone, cooking a throwing knife so my character model didn't move in a ghillie suit and waiting for someone to run by and chasing him down and knifing him. Because I'm weird. That's what I did. And there were other times where I'd try to play Metal Gear Solid in Call of Duty, where I'd get a silenced USP, a ghillie suit, and smoke grenades and try to run around with a silenced USP trying to beat people against their guns. It was really dumb. So that's what inspired Frantic Fails, and I think Frantic's Annex sums that up beautifully.
That is amazing.
Because I do dumb shit in video games. So, all right. I think that sums up exactly what's going to be happening. If you want to read the whole article, it goes a little more in depth about certain stuff and kind of gives you a better understanding of where all the stuff that Frantic Talks has done. I didn't really go into the specifics of what we were focusing on when, but just know that the podcast is absolutely staying. This isn't going anywhere. But we're going to try to take the beginning of the podcast and formulate it into a column for each person. And also try to get you some of the stuff we've talked about before, like video game stuff. More Sunday show, hopefully, so my computer doesn't kill me. And other interesting stuff like involving Freak Show. That's the too long didn't read of what's going to happen. So, excited. Should be great. Unless you have anything else to say, Grunt, I think I'm going to cap off the episode here.
I believe I'm good.
All right. Okay, so if you guys want, let's let you know where you can find us at this point. If you want to continue the conversation, let us know what you think about the changes. Are you excited for them as we are? Let us know other stuff that you'd want to hear, maybe an archived podcast, which we're going to record, honestly, right after this. Let us know. Love to hear it. You can do that by heading to Twitter. I am at FranticJ3. He is at OnyxSpartan, ONYX all one word. You can also hit up at Frantic_Talks. That is our official Frantic Talks Twitter account. You can also hit up at FreakShow187 for some great puns, and he'll probably start tweeting out more about the articles he's writing. More than likely.
I'll make him do it.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. You can also head over to twitch.tv/Frantic Talks, all one word. That is where you will find this podcast live every Saturday, usually, at 3 p.m. Eastern, usually. I did forget to mention that during the weeks we are not there, we might have people stream stuff every now and then. So even if we're not live, you might check on it and see. Freak Show might be streaming something. We'll see. The podcast, 0.5. Also, you can head over to YouTube.
The podcast chapter.
Yes. You can head over to YouTube, search up Frantic Talks, hit the subscribe button. The perks there, you get the Sunday show, any video content we do, and the podcast goes live on there roughly an hour after we've gone live on Twitch versus 2 days later, the audio version is released. Also, you can head over to facebook.com/Frantic Talks, all one word. Hit the like button. You'll get updates just as you would on Twitter, but in a more Facebook format. And if all else fails, head to FranticTalks.com, where you can find all our articles, all our podcasts, all this information I just mentioned in the footer. It's all there. You just click around a bunch, you'll find it, I promise. And also magic.FranticTalks.com. There's a tab on the Frantic Talks website to take you there, or you can just type it in. Find out all our Magic the Gathering not podcast. There was a podcast, but
But there may be future
future
rants. You never know. Future rants. Okay, that'll work too.
It's more than likely what it would be, but all our articles we've written there, along with continuing series that we're hopefully going to push back out into the mainstream since we've been a little dormant on that. But either way, that's how you can find us. But if all of that fails, if for some reason you haven't been able to do it, what can they do, Grunt?
Search Frantic Talks on your favorite search engine.
Yes.
100 times out of 10, you will find us. I'm just going to change that figure every time I mention it.
100 times out of 10. Oh, that was great. Okay, so that about does it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I think we'll definitely have some fun with these changes. Should be a lot of fun. Excited for it.
I'm anxious for it. Let's go.
Yeah, check out all the Frantic Talk stuff. Binge it all. And I think that's all. We will see you guys next time. I am Frantic.
I'm Grunt. 100 times out of 10.
100 times out of 10, we'll see you guys next time.